Hello everyone, I Riya Pahuja from ETCIO welcome you all to the webinar Do More with Less Using Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. Challenging times require businesses to become more agile, global and secure. Virtual desktop infrastructure has therefore been gaining attention for all the right reasons. A VDI can provide remote access to business critical applications while ensuring business continuity and productivity. It does not only allow employees to access critical workloads outside the workplace network, but also ensures data protection, policy enforcement, and compliance. It has proven to lower costs and in automating and speeding up the deployment. In this webinar today, ETCIO and Tata Communications will take us through some of the main points that VDI solution can solve. The key discussion points today will be how VDI ensures business continuity by providing access to critical business apps and data, how to seamlessly integrate VDI with existing applications, how to optimize your cloud experience while lowering costs for your Windows Server desktops and applications using Windows Virtual Desktop, and for sure how VDI can help you extend support for Windows 7, which is ending soon. For this very topical discussion, we have with us eminent speakers. We have with us Mr. Vivek Vishnu, General Manager for Public Cloud at Tata Communications, and Mr. Nipun Gupta, Solution Specialist, Service and Azure Cloud at Microsoft. A very warm welcome, speakers.
Thanks so much. This is Vivek from Tata Communication.
Mr. Vishnu has over 20 years of industry experience with CXO IT leadership in various organizations. Throughout his career, he has been involved in digital transformation initiatives, ERP, microservices architecture, advanced analytics implementations, and IT infrastructure modernization. Mr. Nipun Gupta otherwise manages services and Azure cloud businesses at Microsoft. During his diverse tenure in enterprise technology industry, Nipun has consulted hundreds of CXOs to open new revenue streams and expand the existing ones. Before we go ahead with the session, I want to inform all my dear attendees that they can drop in their queries and doubts in the box provided. We will be taking those questions in the Q&A round in the end. Without any further delay, I now request our first speaker, Mr. Vishnu, to please take this webinar ahead. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to everyone, and a very warm welcome to this webinar hosted by ETCIO, Microsoft, and Tata Communication for you. At the outset, I hope all you and your families are keeping safe and following the directives of safe living in these rather extraordinary times, something we have never seen before. My best wishes from my organization are with you, your colleagues, and your families. All right, some quick observations I wanted to share now that we are well within the new normal of work from home and the lockdown era. As you would have observed in the lockdown 1.0, enterprises were sort of unprepared for the scenarios which were unfolding almost on a daily basis. And when it became clear that this is not a normal pandemic, it's an extraordinary pandemic, enterprises largely placed employee security first as they moved most of the work from office to the safety of their employees' home. In the brief period since then, enterprises had some breathing time to be able to assess and plan the next set of transformation changes that now appears to be unavoidable as most of this year 2020 is pretty uncertain about how these lockdowns would unfold and how would this pandemic be controlled. What we see now is, however, we see the focus coming back after the initial lockdown 1.0. We see the lockdown 2.0. We see the focus coming back to employee productivity, data security, ease of collaboration in the new normal of conducting business that we are in. This new scenario requires your employees to access critical business application outside the traditional boundaries of your enterprise network. Now that has created a new range of connectivity security and collaboration challenges for you as IT leaders. Uh, Before we go on to solutions, we one thing we want to share with you, clearly say to you is that this is not just business as usual for us. At Tata Communication, we stand by your side to support your business continuity efforts in these uncertain times by enabling remote working that allows your employees to stay productive and safe. We would be available to you, and should it so happen that you want rapid response from our organization, we would be absolutely prepared to help you uh, 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 maintain the business continuity rollouts that you are currently doing. So, uh, this is not a normal remote working environment that we are talking about. Enterprises today are provisioning for massive levels of work from home. Earlier, we would take a 5%, 10% employees working from remote location as one of the sizing parameters. But today, when you are looking at massive work from home environment, a lot of things change for that because of that. Uh, you have to ensure some of the critical things being productive collaboration between teams, external and internal partners, and customers across borders has to be seamless as it was when you were operating through your enterprise networks. You have to very critical that you have to secure access to applications and data that was till now restricted to the to your secure corporate network. For organizations which are into the B2B businesses, they have to secure access to their end customer applications because they have to continue providing support to those organizations while their employees work from home and agents work from their locations. Ability to ensure compliance and of their end customer applications continues to be a critical aspect, and I think more or less settling down to a point where um, highly robust and secure application needs for remote users is now the need of the hour. You will have to look at these remote agents who can actually work from their home and provide back office operation through a very distributed and operation instead of these large centers that you were earlier operating. But as IT leaders in this webinar would confirm, and with me, that this is not as easy as it sounds, because there are no precedents in the earlier days of this mass level of work from home environment actually emerging, or any disaster recovery kind of disaster scenario planning that you had earlier done. So the most obvious in the new environment is the nature of the unregulated and unoptimized network, resulting in a poor user experience because people are working from their homes. The it's a public internet that they're accessing, so that's one of the that is causing a severe problem for a lot of users. And also these also the internet providers are experiencing very significant amount of workloads coming onto the internet, thereby making these networks even more poor in the user experience. Restricted collaboration. You could look at various collaboration tools which are there. Some of them are secure, some of them have become famously not so secure. But the fact of the matter is, collaboration is no longer very simple. You have only one means of collaboration today, which is the virtual way of collaborating, and that would be a hurdle in employee productivity. The most serious threat, though, is the unsecured access, possible security breach from unsafe sources, and violation of user privileges. This is the biggest bother for most IT leaders today. Access and scalability through VPNs is available. One knows about it, but then it poses scalability on VPNs poses additional challenges, forcing IT leaders to look at alternate solutions and more robust solutions. Uh, the current situation is challenging is perhaps an understatement, and also has laid to rest the best plans of disruption mitigation blueprints that enterprises had made in a more peaceful days. In this context, I would say some of the key things that we will have to look at as the fundamental parameter of looking at the solution would be we would have to draw the focus on one critical aspect of work from home, that is security of enterprise data and application access to employees. uh, this is not going to change. See, some things will not change irrespective of the level of disruption the current times is showing, and those things that will not change are regulations are not going to change. Be it statutory or be it corporate agreements with other customers of yours, policies, guidelines of your organization will not change. Your end customer, be it enterprise customers or consumers, continue to be your mandates with them continue to be living mandates, and they are not going to change. So we will have to ramp up very quickly and to provide robust solutions which which adheres to those existing regulations and policies and guidelines which were there in the pre-lockdown era. Now, we have to also consider the fact that the adverse effect on most businesses are having an adverse effect due to this global shutdown. The unprecedented surge in demand to enable remote working at a large scale is pushing IT decision makers like you to mandatorily find robust solutions that can be managed within the already stretched budgets, IT budgets that you had. And also keep in mind that revenue guidance of your organizations would have certain uncertainties now built into it. So, what is that one solution that we in Tata Communication feel would be relevant in the current scenario? We think that desktop as a service for working for employees working from home could be one way and a very robust way of actually going ahead to address this multi-dimensional problem that we are today facing. The cloud-based VDI solution ensures remote virtual desktop, faster connectivity, and most importantly, secure access to data and applications. So, but what are the challenges? Let's look at first a set of challenges that you would experience when you go to a cloud VDI environment at a general level, not specific to this particular solution. User experience trade-offs in a multi-session environments. Due to a lot of their users working from remote locations, there would be certain trade-offs, and that would cause certain user experience problems. You can experience poor O365 user performance in a non-persistent multi-session environment due to data persistence requirements in Outlook, OneDrive, etc. Scalable remote desktop deployment requires deeper knowledge to run smoothly, which were not factored in still about a month back. Diverse user needs requires complex image management as well. Deploying, monitoring, updating virtual deployments is a high overhead function which has to be managed very carefully. And most importantly, security and compliance adherence in access to employees. Considering this set of challenges, the sight of a robust solution, however, the complexity involved in managing this solution, uh, uh, you could partner with a service provider who has solutions for the entire gamut of services from networking, security framework, cloud and data center expertise, etc. Important thing is you have to realize is it's not just a software piece that you are actually going to manage. User experiences has latency issues related to network problems, has security frameworks, additional security frameworks may be something you would be looking at. You may be looking at additional data center expertise to be able to create a hybrid cloud management environment for you. So a solution provider who has access and has capabilities in all these areas would be typically the best bet to go ahead with. So just to give one snapshot view of Tata Communication capabilities today, broadly, Tata Communication is a partner of choice for almost most organizations in the enterprise world to enable the digital infrastructure. We are perhaps number one data center player in India and a leading player in managed hosting and cloud services globally. This by far we are this is by far the leading position of Tata Communication as compared to anybody else. We connect businesses to providers who account for almost 70% of cloud computing. We over 30,000 petabytes of internet traffic is carried on our internet backbone every month. We handle close to 10% of all international voice calls uh, being executed globally, which includes 85 million voice transactions handled every day. 40 terabytes of international bandwidth lit capacity. So essentially, we have a very large footprint on networking, on data, cloud, and security frameworks. Uh, uh, in this business of digital infrastructure, uh, big is actually more beautiful. How does what does comprise our services when we actually want to help our customers adopt a virtual desktop environment of Windows? So Azure WVD, for example, we actually have a planned mechanism or methodology for and it's a consultative approach we follow in designing and deploying the solution. We partner with Microsoft on the complete range of Azure services for our customers. This includes WVD solution as well. What we follow is we plan your WVD adoption roadmap on the basis of the best practices that we have learned through our partners, as well as practices that we have evolved over the last many years. By making an assessment of your current infrastructure assets and planned distribution of access to employees working from home. Uh, we would help you in migrating to WVD environments without disruption to the current access mechanism. This would involve migration of on-prem workloads, syncing with cloud platform of choice, which would be Azure in this case. Uh, through our managed services, we manage your WVD infrastructure, provide you alerts, as well as help in optimization of this crucial infrastructure going on a regular basis. This follows our matured ITIL-based processes and a very large resource base of certified specialists through our development capabilities. We make recommendations to upgrade the infrastructure and co-create innovative solutions that with our customers that are cost effective and deliver superior results. This follows a planned and a continuous realignment of IT resources and balancing it out with the cost of optimization that we would do with you on a regular basis. Let's look at while WVD solution from of Azure is useful for across the spectrum of industries. Let us see the various business scenarios where this would be most useful. It is highly effective in the security and regulation driven industries like financial services, healthcare, or organizations in research and regulatory practices. Assuming you have a need, a business need to have a elastic workforce, which may increasingly be asked from the business leadership team to IT departments now. Your ability to build temporary workforces, your ability to scale up or down very quickly to accommodate workers and contractors for seasonal hiring, spike in demands, or sometimes scaling down of these contractors for a short period of time, or any other short-term needs that you may have in workforce management. WVD would be an ideal solution for you. There are two reasons, specifically two reasons for elastic workforce support from WVD. One is ensures compliance and consistency of your new temporary workforce securely accessing enterprise resources and quick onboarding with standard application and desktop experiences rather than those people working on applications that they are used to in their non-work environments. So there would be consistency and compliance adherence because all new temporary workers would onboard with the kind of application, with the kind of access mechanism and processes that you would want these temporary employees to actually start using almost from minute one. It allows you to expand your workforce by instantly provisioning desktops in new territories or even new countries without the time and complexity of setting up local IT resources. This is done without adding physical assets or resources in the new location, which is which is obvious in the WVD environment because the desktop is on the cloud, so you can provision almost instantly new and onboard new workforces anywhere in the world. For certain organizations who have specialized workloads like designing and engineering applications like in insurance industry or software development testing environments, WBD would be an ideal scenario to go ahead with. Uh, what does it mean for IT department if you were to have a WVD deployment? Three things. It simplifies infrastructure changes, be it upgrades, updates, security patches for all employees in one place, rather than deploying multiple versions, multiple variants of individual desktops and apps. And it optimizes your business ROI, whether onboarding employees or preparing for a merger and acquisition. The possibilities of will increasingly become higher in these disruptive times. Enhanced security and compliance. You can configure familiar Azure security. Assuming you're an Azure customer already, then for you to configure Azure security service is the WVD security would be similar to the experience that you already have in configuring Azure security services. As you build out deployment, sophisticated security services are easily configured, like multi-factor authentication, CA, etc., through Azure AD services, which are part and parcel of this solution. The third important aspect for IT departments is simplicity. If you have standard M365 license, E3 or E5, WED is already included in your existing licenses. It allows you to only then, what does it mean? It allows you to only pay for compute, storage, network consumption of Azure underlying layer. So essentially for IT department, it means simplifying infrastructure changes, extremely simple way of doing infrastructure changes and a consistent way of doing it, enhanced security and compliance, and built-in simplicity if you since you would most likely be already using Microsoft Windows licenses. Let's move to the next one. Uh, in one simple snapshot, if you were to see how WVD solution actually emerges out of the existing set of assets which are already there from Microsoft. WVD solution essentially is placed at the cross section of foundational Azure engine, WVD management layer, which lies over and above it, and Microsoft licenses, which are already there in your organization. So, drawing the best from the existing asset base and creating a transformation pathway for your organization could be a simple definition of a WVD solution today, as it would be, as it would create new frameworks of or the next generation framework of Azure cloud management solution. I wanted to pick up specifically, while there are many reasons why many benefits which come through our WVD implementation, I specifically wanted to pick up one specific area. And WVD has a unique advantage of delivering superior user experiences. And that reason is that it is the only platform which has a multi-session Windows 10 on shared VMs. But what it does is it enables multiple users become active simultaneously on the same VM. However, each user data is still isolated from every other user. Now, this multi-session Windows 10 is not there in any other platform. The benefit of this is superior price performance, reduced compute cost, and reduced storage cost. WVD is unique because not only it provides PC-like Windows 10 experience for your end users, but also saves you big bucks via multi-session deployment. I will stay with this thought for a little while more. Let me explain how it happens. For a single session deployment, you will need one small VM per user, which usually ends up with a very low utilization. In comparison, for a multi-session deployment, as in WVD, you can have a larger shared VM to support multiple users so that you have higher utilization. In addition to that, since you will have fewer VMs, you can also expect lower operational cost. As a result, you can expect your multi-session cost to be around, arguably around one-sixth of your single session costs. This is the key differentiation, one of the key differentiation of WVD, as you will find no other solution in the marketplace that supports Windows 10 multi-session. This is a simplified user access. I wanted to share this specifically because if you see from the left side, you have user access mechanism through any kind of device you can think of, be it laptops, be it mobiles, etc. And to the WVD pane through a secured pipe using multi-factor authentication and Active Directory authorization. So most all your compute, all your storage, etc., continues to work on your Azure layer. WVD pane is a management layer which ensures that your desktops are virtually available to your remote users. I wanted to also share some of our experiences that we had lately with working with our customers. We've been working with many customers in designing the WVD solution, executing POCs, executing straight production scenarios. Uh, this is one of the simplest architecture artifact that I wanted to highlight. I would call it a plain vanilla virtual desktop environment which may apply to a large number of organizations. So if you see, we have remote users coming from any kind of device through public internet. You would need your corporate data centers to be connected to the Azure through a express route, and uh, uh, the connectivity between your data center and Azure cloud will be through the express route. Secured access to remote users through public internet, or you could identify and implement a specific solution for secured and regulated internet access for your employees. Uh, Azure AD service, which syncs and VMs on the cloud, which syncs with the domain controller of your organization. In essence, this forms those three, four pieces, which are the crucial building blocks of a Azure WBD high-level architecture for your organization. Let's drill down a little bit, and how would it look like going forward? Uh, if you see, we have Active Directory domain controller, which is part of your data, which is in your data center. It connects through the express route. In our case, you could use a Tata Communication MPLS VPN, and to the Azure service engine on the cloud. This ensures, where does it connect really? It connects to the Azure services, Azure AD services, and syncs the user images there, uh, and provides you the WVD access. So if I were to go to the previous slide, sorry, this is the simplest possible architecture with those three, four critical components that you would need to remember if you're going for a WVD design. And this is a little broader architecture that we have drawn, which includes your FS logic, Azure files, which are user profiles and images stored here. This is there will be variations to this design, but largely a blueprint of your WBD architecture will follow this broad architectural artifacts. All right. In summary, Tata Communication provides you the complete roadmap to take you from the next generation WVD solution to a digitally transformed environment that you would need in this environment and going forward in this year to be able to create a truly agile, highly responsive, and massively scaling digital infrastructure. Through our we have orchestration layer to manage a multi-cloud environment in case you would have in case you would need that. These are intellectual properties developed within Tata Communication, and we offer it as a service to our customers. Managed services, which is round the clock proactive management of hardware, operating system, databases, middleware. DevOps management, SAP infrastructure and basis management, professional services, which includes cloud assessment, which is a service that we give to our customers of their existing infrastructure, give them a roadmap and help you optimize on an ongoing basis your billing as well as infrastructure needs, digital infrastructure needs. Also offer you automation solutions to make the entire process less manpower dependent. We help you in the infra migration of all large enterprise applications, including SAP S4HANA. We have a very large infrastructure, which you would be aware, Tata Communication has a large infrastructure foundation, which includes dedicated hosting. We have our ISO private cloud. We have relationships, and we have a very healthy and a very strong relationship with Microsoft on for Azure solutions. Little to say that our network is one of the largest amongst the largest in the world, and will be a critical component when you're doing a roadmap of your future growth of your organization going forward. This entire spectrum of services is actually critical, because you don't have a standalone WVD solution as you would encounter when you design these solutions. You would start seeing that a lot of infrastructure that you have or would want to have tomorrow would need a partner who will be able to take you through the entire journey for years to come, and still be able to keep you ahead of the curve on digital infrastructure for your organization. Thank you so much. I think my time is up on this, and please feel free to ping your questions to the organizer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the insightful presentation you had here. I now request our second speaker, Nipun Gupta, to please take this forward.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining in this afternoon, and thanks a lot, Vivek, for walking us through the wonderful work that Tata Communications is doing um, with this technology that happens to be at the right place at the right time to help everyone manage the huge business continuity challenge that has suddenly occurred. Um, I would really like to quickly share that Tata Communications has done some phenomenal work with some of the large organizations, and have in no time managed to bring up and running hundreds and thousands of users on the Windows Virtual Desktop. So kudos to them for that. And I think since Vivek has already walked us through a great degree of details, I will quickly walk everyone through in next 20 odd minutes on what are the high level differentiators of Windows Virtual Desktop, and why it makes sense to set up desktop in cloud, and why it makes sense to do it with Windows Virtual Desktop. So we know across all the industries, be it agriculture, retail, healthcare, financial services, real estate, today work from home is practicality of life. Windows Virtual Desktop was built to address multiple use cases. Work from home or bring your own device is one of them. And I'll just move through some of the high level reasons on why this continues to be the best virtual desktop experience. The first and foremost, it happens to be the only virtual desktop solution that gives Windows 10 multi-session capability. So Windows 10 multi-session, as Vivek mentioned, that allows you to attach multiple users onto single compute, which is otherwise not possible if you are doing a regular PC or a laptop scenario. Everyone gets their own machine, and the compute is fragmented throughout the organization. Um, Same goes with the operating systems, and same goes with the applications loaded on top of them. With Windows 10 multi-session, multiple users can log in into a pool of compute hardware as well as OS hardware, and there are multiple optimizations that are built for Office 365 applications to ensure that the user experience does not degrade just because you're virtualizing the desktop. I'll take a minute here to share what was the traditionally challenge with virtual desktops, where as soon as you put a desktop on a network, then the latency starts playing tricks and the user productivity goes down due to a lack of experience. There have been some key innovations that have been put into place with Windows Virtual Desktop, which we'll talk about shortly, that helps the end users feel like they're working out of the same PC or the laptop experience, as if nothing has changed in the backend. And we have put in a rigorous amount of R&D effort and dollars to ensure that the experience and productivity does not degrade because the organization chooses to virtualize the desktop. In some cases, if you are already invested with the RDS technology, then you can lift and shift the RDS desktop and applications in the Windows Virtual Desktop, and the WVD will make it a backward compatible movement for you, so that you don't have to worry about the apps not working in a new platform. The last and the most important thing is whether it's 5 users, 50 users, 5,000 users, or 50,000 users. You can, because of the power of cloud, you can essentially deploy and scale in minutes. And we have seen organizations which have gone live with thousands of users over 1 or 2 days period. So unlike a regular scenario where you have to spend a considerable amount of time and procurement lead times to procure the machines, load them with operating system and applications and other software. With Windows Virtual Desktop, you can keep a single golden image across multiple user groups, and because it is provisioned in cloud, it essentially happens on the fly. So I'll just quickly double click on all of the four things that we just talked about. The first thing is the multi-session capability, where the legacy app remoting as well as Windows 7 extended security updates are also offered along with this benefit. So since we have already talked about multi-session and single session on Windows 10 and that being available on the Windows Virtual Desktop, I'll quickly also talk about the Windows 7 ESU. As all of us would already be aware that Windows 7 has gone end of support in January, and some of your applications that are legacy in nature might be preventing you to move from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So there is an option of purchasing extended support units, which are approximately $200 per year per device. But if you choose to move Windows 7 desktops on the Windows Virtual Desktop, Microsoft is providing free extended security updates for those desktops. Essentially, you not only stand to gain technically, but you also you stand to gain commercially as well, by moving the legacy applications on Windows Virtual Desktop. And it essentially means that you can move to the Windows 10 experience at your own pace when your dependencies on the Windows 7 applications are reduced. The second aspect of this is the optimizations that have been built in. There is a concept of containerization that all of us are aware of on the server side. On the end user compute side, and there is a containerization technology that goes into the Windows Virtual Desktop, and it makes the performance of Office and Outlook extremely effective. So just like I mentioned earlier, and at the risk of repeating myself, the experience that a user gets with Windows Virtual Desktop, including and especially on the O365 applications, is seamless and is exactly same as they get on a native desktop. So you need to probably take this into consideration. If most of the users are moving on an offline or a remote working scenario, then their user experience or productivity should not get hampered because of this is one very critical factor, and it ensures that your productivity erosion that happens because of virtualization in desktops is taken care of. Now, how this technology works and how do we ensure that it works as a native will quickly take up in a couple of slides later. But let us cover the RDS first. So if you have any of the applications that are running on the Windows Server 2012 RDS, 2012 R2, or any versions after that, then there is an application compatibility for all of those Windows Server images, and you can do a simple lift and shift of all those environments into WVD and move them out of your data center into cloud, which can be accessible from anywhere. One of the key advantages that we saw when we did this at Microsoft itself, so all the new interns that are coming in, because they cannot go to an office facility to get a new laptop commissioned, they essentially are being provisioned on WVD itself. Now, one of the amazing things is that since all of our applications are running in Azure, and if we have provisioned these interns also on WVD, they are also situated right in the data center. So their experience is blazingly fast. The applications that I access, probably they are having even better experience than that. My couple of conversations with them have yielded the same feedback. And probably because of your desktop applications and your other web applications and all, everything being in the same data center is a better idea than it looks on the face of it. The Azure as a platform is being built with the intention of it being world's computer. So it is the largest and the most number of data centers and regions in the world. In fact, if you look at the top three cloud providers, Azure has more data centers and regions than the other two combined, and they are available across 54 regions and growing across 140 countries. So you can provision the desktops at the nearest data center where your users are actually located. In fact, there is a tool that helps you find the right data center for right user. It automatically gives you which Azure data center will have the lowest latency for your end users, so that you don't have to get into a painful activity while profiling the users and profiling which user goes into which data center. Then the entire management portal of Azure, the Azure portal is itself something that you can use to deploy and manage and monitor WVD. So there is the single pane of glass that's available to do the entire administrative activity, and it has got the built-in security and compliance of both Windows and Azure. The SDKs are now available. The slide is a bit dated, so you can scratch the coming soon part, and you can build on top of the WVD solution to probably integrate it with your existing estate or extend it to your existing hardware. So just to give you an example, one of the companies that used the Linux-based thin clients used the WVD SDK to access the virtual desktops, Windows virtual desktops through Linux thin clients. So it's pretty open and extensible, and to be integrated into your existing IT estate as well. Okay, so summarizing the four broad points that we discussed recently, the first thing is that you get a full Windows 10 and Office 365 experience. There are no cuts to it. In fact, the performance upgrades ensure that the users don't feel like they're working on a remote desktop. The second thing is the optimizations built specifically for O365, including Teams. I'll shortly talk about something known as an AV redirection, which ensures that the latency while you are on a Teams call is much lower with WVD as compared to any other virtualization solution. The third thing we talked about was the Windows Server RDS environment to Azure. So existing RDS environments can be lifted and shifted on top of Azure, and the application compatibility is taken care of. The fourth thing we talked about was the hyperscale capability and the availability of cloud, where you can deploy and scale thousands of users in minutes, even lakhs if that's required. On top of these four things, there are this last couple of things that need a mention here. So since VDI and RDS, which is available on Azure, it also is available as a service on Azure, and that's a very important piece. You don't need to put in any effort to deploy things like service brokers and web layers and load balancers. everything is provisioned automatically and everything is managed by Microsoft. So it is not just VDIs, it is VDI and RDSH as a service, and takes away a lot of management and administration pain that comes with deploying a virtual desktop solution. The second thing is that this is a single service that you can use to virtualize both desktop as well as applications. You will see a lot of virtualization, end user virtualization solutions have a separate piece of technology, something separate for desktop virtualization, something separate for app virtualization. It is less confusing and easy to manage with Microsoft WVD, where this same WVD can be used to virtualize both desktop as well as the applications. You can manage multiple or single golden image of the applications and publish it for the user groups that they make sense for. Windows 7 we have already talked about because it is end of life. The extended security updates cost $200 per device per year. But if you deploy these Windows 7 desktops on WVD, these essentially the extended security updates are free for next 3 years, and you can choose to move to Windows 10 at your own pace. The security and management or config manager and Intunes is there. If you're using M365, you can use the same features on WVD. So it essentially, as Vivek mentioned, it is at the cross section of Azure and M365. It brings in best of the both worlds and helps you deploy the same desktop experience on cloud. Okay, quickly moving on to the backbone on which WVD is set, Azure. First thing, it's productive because everything is GUI based, everything is through a single pane of glass, everything is SLA backed. So you don't need to worry about the hassles of setting up stuff on your data center. The second thing, it's hybrid. So whatever you deploy on Azure can be extended or deployed on premises also. In fact, we have partnerships with the providers like Citrix and VMware who provide the on-premise solutions. If you are already invested in Citrix and VMware solutions for virtual desktop, you can continue using their control plane and you can deploy the new desktops on top of Azure without having to increase your data center capacity. So your virtual desktop solution runs in a hybrid mode, something running on-prem, something running on cloud, or everything moving to cloud, or something temporarily running on cloud and later on moving on-prem. Whatever design scenario you have in mind can be addressed. It is intelligent with the intelligent security, advanced threat protection on Azure that you are aware of. So it ensures that all your data, user profiles, everything is secure, as well as being monitored through advanced machine learning models. And lastly, with the highest number of compliance and certifications any cloud has, it is the most trusted cloud in the world today. This Vivek has explained very deeply already, but at a very high level, the top layer of VDI as a service is completely managed by Microsoft. So everything from web access to management to diagnostics to service broker, gateway, and load balancing, which are the components of deploying any VDI solution, they are deployed automatically through the portal, and their uptime and administration is Microsoft's responsibility. So the entire VDI as a service, as a technology, is not only offered to you in a fully managed bundle, but most interestingly, it is offered for free. So this control plane, if you use the native WVD control plane, you get it for free. If you're already invested in a Citrix or a VMware control plane, you can also use that control plane instead of the WVD native control plane. So it is extensible, it is open, and going by the same ethos of extensibility and openness, the Citrix and VMware control planes can be used instead of WVD native as well. Your existing subscription of Windows 7 Enterprise, Windows 10 Enterprise, Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session, the Windows Server R2 CALs, and your remote app. All of these can be used M365, O365. You don't need to buy any new subscriptions, and that's one key aspect where we ensure that we get the maximum out of your existing investments without you having to reinvest because of a business continuity challenge. And then lastly, it is deployed on top of the core Azure infrastructure. You use the same VMs, the same storage, the same networking that is powering your enterprise applications as well, and you know that they can be trusted with the end user compute. You can continue using the existing tools like Configuration Manager and Intune. You just have to simply connect to your on-premises resources to start leveraging WVD resource. Now, let's take a quick minute to understand what was it about the containerization that I was harping about. This particular technology of FS Logics was acquired by Microsoft an year and a half earlier, where the customers get three core pieces. The first part is the profile container. So your roaming profiles and folder redirections are replaced, and they are replaced by the containerized profiles. Essentially, whenever a user logs in, his profile and his data are containerized, and whichever VM is up and running and is available in your deployment, the profile and the data is dynamically attached to that VM. So what happens is that the user gets a blazing fast login times and the application launch times. And this obviously includes your O365 container, which roams with the Office cache data, and the Windows Search database with the user in virtual desktop environments. So you have to see it to believe it. Once you do a pilot or once you do a POC, you will see the blazing fast speed of the logons and the application launch times. And the reason that I'm again and again repeating that the user experience does not degrade is because of this very reason. The second thing is app masking. You don't have to have a lot of gold images. You can reduce the number of application gold images. You can create a single image with all applications, and you get an excellent app compatibility with app masking feature. You don't have to do any packaging, sequencing, backend infrastructure, or virtualization with your existing applications. The last thing is Java redirection. We all know that there are multiple security vulnerabilities that open up because of multiple versions of Java being installed. What FS Logics does is it maps the specific versions of Java to individual applications or websites, and it helps you to protect your existing users and desktops from the multiple vulnerabilities that come up due to these device multiple features of Java. My apologies. Now, this is something that is important, has already been covered, and that's why I'm covering it again. Whatever licenses you are already having, M365, E3, E5, M365 F1, M365 Business, your Windows 10 Enterprise subscription, be it E3 or E5, or even if you are an academic institution and have an education license or benefits, irrespective of that, you don't need to buy any additional licenses. Everything that you see on the slide deck right now, all of these licenses can be reused if you are migrating or moving your desktop to WVD. And that's one critical and most important aspect, because once you talk about the end user compute, you need to take into consideration per device costing. And this is what dramatically reduces the TCO if you are deploying a desktop in cloud. And the same licenses are also entitlements for the FS Logics technology. So both 3D WVD technology and the FS Logics that's a part of it can be deployed with your existing licenses themselves. You don't need to buy any additional licenses. The pricing is very same as the Azure pricing that you're aware of. Since WVD is itself given currently being given away free of cost from Microsoft, and there are no future plans to charge for it as well. So you can pay only for virtual machine storage and networking and get started. The underlying infrastructure that the user uses is all that will be billed to you. Everything else can be either reused or is provided free of cost. More interestingly, since you have the capability of pooling multiple users on a single VM with WVD, you can also take advantage of the monthly reserved instance benefits, and you can pay for approximately up to 72% lower using these monthly reserved instances on the same storage, compute, and networking that is being used for WVD. The partner ecosystem is pretty comprehensive. For the lack of space on this slide, I have only taken a few of them. Tata Consultancies and Tata Communications are some of the premier partners in the SI and the GSI space. who help the customers solution this and integrate it in their existing data center capacities or their existing IT estate. The second type of partners are the ISVs who have developed the value-added solutions or using the WBD SDK. So there are a lot of solutions available for from monitoring to deployment to security, um, tons of things that make more sense. And if you are really investing in it, then you can look at these solutions. Some of the sponsorship programs from Microsoft can also be availed to get free licenses of these ISVs and get started. You can get in touch with your partner or Microsoft contact to know how to avail complementary licenses of the ISV technologies. And then there are hardware partners like IGEL. The example that I was taking is one of the hardware partners that has used the WVD SDK to integrate the Linux-based thin clients um, with WVD itself. And Samsung has created DeX technology, the desktop experience technology, that ensures you can have a seamless movement from a desktop into a Samsung mobile device and then back. So because WVD is device agnostic, once you have deployed a desktop in WVD, it can be accessed from either an Android mobile phone or an iOS tablet or a Windows PC or a laptop. Samsung has developed additional uh, uh, capability on top of it that ensures that if you are working on WVD desktop through the Samsung mobile phone that are DeX enabled, you get a better experience on the mobile phone, Android mobile phone itself. Um, One of the examples that I talked about was the ability to create a hybrid deployment. And if you're already invested with Citrix or VMware solutions for end user compute, then you can seamlessly integrate WVD with Citrix Workspace, VMware Horizon, Citrix Virtual Apps on desktops, and you can provide the same benefits that we talked about on your Citrix deployments as well. Uh, Things like multi-session Windows 10 experience, things like Office optimization with containers, profile containers, app masking, even Windows 7 extended security updates. All of these are available even if you deploy with Citrix or VMware. So you can probably talk to your TCL representative or your Citrix or VMware representative to know how this works. The uh, the deployments are hybrid in nature. Some of it might be on-prem, some of it can be on cloud, and you get the design flexibility to ensure that whatever existing investments you have made in the VDI and the on-premise data center does not get washed away because you're moving on WVD, and obviously rapid scalability is possible. The last part is a double click on the Samsung DeX technology that I talked about. It has got a full screen Windows 10 and O365 Pro Plus experience on the Samsung mobile device, and you get it on an Android endpoint. So you get a very enhanced kind of a mobility and productivity experience for even workers like shop floor supervisors or people working in retail stores who are continuously on the move. They don't have to come back to their desk to access their to access their desktops. They can do it from their mobile, and once they are back on their desk, they can continue their session on the desktop itself. So Samsung has built an additional optimization on top of it, which ensures there is a faster speed and reduced latency with the Galaxy S10 5G and Wi-Fi 6 support, and it can be tested out with your devices. Lastly, there are some links that will be shared as a follow-up to this call where you can learn more about this technology that is helping, say, a lot of organization out of any BCP challenges because of the pandemic. You can start using the service by talking to your TCL representative. They have amazing experience and some amazing customer stories where they have deployed in a matter of days and brought thousands of desktops up and running um, within no time. And then there are internal resources available for your team to study and uh, uh, learn more about the solution. With this, I will hand over the floor back to the Economic Times team, and we can take the questions if there are any. You can punch them in the chat window, or you can reach out to a TCL representative for a follow-up conversation. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate your time today. Hope you stay safe, stay home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for such an insightful session. Yes, we are running out of time. So, quickly taking a few questions here. We have a lot many here. So, the first question comes up. Can one secure automation development and run attended and unattended bots remotely?
Nipun would take that. Will you take that?
Sure, I can. If you can quickly repeat the question, please.
Sure, sir. I will repeat myself. The question says, can we secure automation development and run attended and unattended bots remotely?
Oh yes, definitely. So whatever you are doing in a very conceptual level, whatever you are doing on your existing desktop, you can continue doing remotely. It is essentially your desktop being ported into cloud so that you can access your desktop from anywhere. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. The next question is, users are facing the
We lost you.
Sure, sir. The next question is, users are facing network issues these days. So, what is the requirement of bandwidth when it comes to WVD?
Um,
Uh,
so it entirely depends. You want to take that, Vivek?
yeah, you can also add to what I would just say. See,
Please.
bandwidth is so yeah, is standard bandwidth which you're using on public networks is not a problem. You could also look at some boosting applications which are available. Even it's available from Tata Communication as well, which ensures higher level of security and tunneling in your public network, so that you can get a very significant amount of improvement in your bandwidth that you can actually hog on to the public network. Those solutions are available in case you are facing bandwidth chokes, which is happening because such a large amount of traffic has gone on to the public internet in the last 1 month. So you could talk to us about Tata Communication, and we will be able to help you in being able to boost your internet speed as well as security. Yes.
Sure, sure, sir. The next question is, what are the licenses required to enable WVD?
Nipun.
Sure. So you're any of the existing, there are two basic things. One is the operating system, second is the applications, and third is the baseline platform of WVD or VDI technology. So if you're using WVD, your VDI technology essentially is free, no license required there. If you are having a Citrix license or a VMware license, you can reuse it. So additional purchase is not required, at least on the WVD platform. The second thing is the operating system. Whatever Windows enterprise licenses you have, E3 or E5, can be reused. You don't need to buy any new subscriptions. If you are adding new users, just like you would have bought licenses for them on premises, you can buy for them on cloud also. And the third thing is the applications. The O365 licenses can be reused, either an E3 or an E5 O365, or your A1 or A3 or A5 O365. I'm sorry, A1 is not included, A3 or A5 O365, or your M365 business or E35 subscriptions. Everything is eligible. And if you are doing some other applications, like say an Adobe or an AutoCAD or a Tally, then you need to work with those ISV vendors to ensure that you are licensing wise compliant with their applications.
Sure, sir. Thank you for that. Quickly taking one last question. One of our users wants to know the ROI on VDI and WVD as compared to the physical desktops and laptops. What would be the cost involved in this?
So it's a very open question, quite honestly, and there is a complete solution and a TCO configuration that is available. You can talk to a TCL representative to arrive at an exact ROI for your business case. But at a broad level, you can start for a desktop as low as 200, 300 rupees per month, and that is way less than any desktop that you can get in the market, be it on rental or be it on a capex model. Obviously, depending on the configurations, the investment increases, but the ROI is pretty solid, anywhere between 300% to 50%, depending on what specs you need. I hope that answers.
Also, I'll just add to that, there are certain aspects of security, your organization knowledge being available, onboarding. Those are other indirect financial ratios which should also be calculated while you're doing your ROI calculation. It should, as Nipun said, there is a straight hardware, laptop, etc., versus the WVD costing, but there are a lot of enterprise benefits which are also tangible and can be calculated in financial terms. Yes.
Sure, sir. Thank you for that. I thank all my attendees for being here with us today. Before we let them go, I have last poll for them. If we can quickly have the poll, please. For this poll question, we ask our attendees, do you think desktop on the cloud will spearhead the next generation of cloud infrastructure? The options are yes, no, or not sure. The attendees have 30 seconds to answer the question. While we wait for the inputs for this question, speakers, your thoughts on this?
Um, Now, Nipun, your take first.
Sure, thanks. So I think that the current times are extraordinary. They are they are making us face some things and some situations that none of us had anticipated earlier. But everything has got a silver lining, and the silver lining with this is a lot of learning that is coming across. Things that we never thought were possible to be done remotely are being done remotely. In fact, I just read a couple of days ago the TCS CEOs remarked that their existing business model is 20 years old and they will be shifting entire workforce into a remote working methodology where I believe 25%, is that right, Vivek, is the additional remote
Yes.
working that will be enabled. So I
25% will be working from office, 75% will be working remotely.
Perfect, perfect. So I think that there is a tremendous opportunity that lies in this area, both from a productivity standpoint as well as from the BCP standpoint. Going forward, I believe that the desktop virtualization will be a part of every business continuity plan that is built. Until now, it was only for the server side infrastructure, but now it will be for the end user computing as well. And the second thing is that agile has been talk of the town for quite some time. I believe that WVD and virtual desktop technologies um, help you bring the power of agile to the table.
If I have a minute more, I'll add a little thing to this. What Nipun shared was extremely interesting. So if you go into a WVD design, and you actually start discovering a lot of new things which come in. So I consider WVD to be an arrowhead, and the entire shaft behind it is your entire IT infrastructure, your management policies, etc. Actually get impacted completely. Today, you could look at a BYOD policy afresh with your WVD infrastructure, which you probably had not considered in the earlier days. Your security is now centric around virtual machines now, because all your desktops are not physical desktops. They are actually virtual and are actually residing in the VMs on the data in the cloud environment. You will have to be very careful about sizing and capacity requirement on storage, specific applications like graphic users, and any high compute requirements like analytical users. So IT managers will have to now try to spend a lot more time to understand their user profiles, the applications that are used, unlike in earlier days when the sizing was done once in a while, and once having been done, you would not revisit it. But since it's desktop which is going onto the cloud, you will have to revisit user applications and their needs and requirements a lot more frequently. That might be another change that you might experience. You have sophisticated management tools like golden images, and so you should use these applications, these management tools effectively in onboarding. Your onboarding will become almost instant, a zero downtime kind of, or a almost instant service that you would give to your HR departments. So in effect, if you really look at your licensing agreement that you have, the disparate Windows licensing that you have, you may want to look at Windows multi-session 10 to be actually a leveling of a ground on your licensing. So almost everything that you had today in your data centers and your cloud infrastructure may get impacted if you look at WVD carefully. And as you
Sure.
experience WVD, you would want to make changes and optimize your cost as well as performance of your digital infrastructure. Thank you.
Sure, sir. And as we thought, we have results here. 94% go with yes, 0% go with no, and 6% say that they're not sure.
Very nice.
Great. So thank you so much, speakers, for being with us here today. Equally grateful for all the attendees. Stay connected and stay safe. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Thanks, audience, for being with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Vivek.
Thanks, Nipun. Thanks, Economic Times.